we have one news point that we're gonna have to break your heart with.
Yep. You want me to just read the...
Well, you need to do the intro.
Oh, you're right. Let me add a little sad flair.
Yeah, let's do a little.
Wiki wiki wow. This time. This one's sad.
This is a little
tragic.
heartbreaker.
All right, you want me to just read the press release here?
Yeah, just read
the press release, by the way, that these cowards did not post on social media. Like,
yeah.
they legitimately did not post this on social media. From the Disney Parks blog, published November 22nd, 2024. I was standing in Epcot when this news broke, by the way.
Oh.
Get ready to open the door because Mike and Sully are coming to town. To make way for the monsters, because we're getting this whole Monsters Inc. land, right? Mm-hmm. Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy, and more of their friends will be moving right along to Sunset Boulevard. But there's more to the story. The Muppets will be taking over Rockin' Roller Coaster, teaming up with some of music's biggest stars for a rockin' music festival. We know so many of you share our love for the Muppets and know their energy will be a perfect fit for this coaster. Plus, as the first...
I feel like I'm in that video where she's like, I meant to get a salad. I accidentally walked into McDonald's.
Plus, as the first ever Disney ride to feature the Muppets, there's sure to be laughter, screams, and new tunes for this attraction for fans to enjoy throughout the adventure and plenty of Muppets-themed merchandise. In the meantime, there's still enough time to catch a super stretch limo to enjoy Rockin' Roller Coaster and catch Muppet Vision 3D again before their final curtain calls. As we move forward with these changes, we are having creative conversations and exploring ways to preserve the film and other parts of the experience for fans to enjoy in the future. So, TLDR, they're closing Muppet Vision 3D to make way for Monsters Inc. land in that stretch of the park.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, if you look at the concept art, which maybe I'll throw it up on screen if I don't feel lazy in editing, you can see on the right side of this concept art, that's like Galaxy's Edge. So this is bumped up to Galaxy's Edge, and they're not even changing like the Muppet Vision building. They're literally just putting a different facade over it and then redoing this whole area and expanding it because they need more space. So I have a long tirade I could go down about this, but I will let you go first.
Yeah. We'll try to condense this the best we can.
No promises.
Here's my thought. Number one, this is my Rockin' Roller Coaster Magic Band that will be on eBay in the next few years.
No. Keep it.
Daddy needs a new car, so we're gonna...
Is it gonna be a super stretch limo?
Guys, weddings are expensive. Opening bid on my Rockin' Roller Coaster Magic Band, $10 million. That's the first point. Second point is, this is coming from someone... I genuinely love the Muppets. Muppet Vision 3D has been, like, one of the staples of Disney World for me, like, from a very young age. This is also someone who loves Aerosmith. Like, my mom is Steven Tyler's biggest fan, so I grew up on them, and I grew up on the Rock and Roller Coaster, and that was always, like, what we had to do. It was like, we have to do the Rock and Roller Coaster. Like, it's Aerosmith. How can you not? And I have, like, a Rock and Roller Coaster hat from when I was, like, 10 years old, and it's, like, so special to me and all this stuff. But here's kind of... If you look at it, to be devil's advocate for a second, if you look at Hollywood Studios and what the future of Hollywood Studios is, what Disney wants the future of Hollywood Studios to be, Muppet Vision 3D is arguably one of their weaker aspects of the park. Based on, just objectivity of the rides, to where Muppet Vision 3D is a super popular show, because everyone goes because it's nostalgic and it's actually genuinely really funny. But if you look at the 3D technology of Muppet Vision 3D versus something even like the PhilharMagic, like there's no competition. Like, it is so fun and so sweet and so nostalgic and so funny, but it's genuinely just a pretty outdated. And here's the other thing about Rock and Roller Coaster is Aerosmith isn't touring anymore. So in 5 years, I'm not going to say Aerosmith will become irrelevant because I don't think they ever will, because rock and roll never dies. But they're trying to stay current. And, their vision for Hollywood studios is slowly turning into a more modern Hollywood, which I don't love, because the whole point is to be classic Hollywood. It's the Sunset Boulevard. It's the 1950s, 60s Hollywood that's big band jazz type stuff. But also, you have to understand, we have to update the park at some point.
Yeah.
We have to keep it fresh and moving. And granted, Disney park goers will go regardless. They're going to be there no matter what you do. If you keep Muppets, if you scrap Muppets, if you keep Aerosmith, if you scrap Aerosmith, they could keep it like this forever for the end of time, and they would still have record numbers every day. But that's not what the Disney Imagineering vision is about. That's not the point. They're all about their innovation and changing. And here's the other thing that I don't think we're really considering is that Muppet Vision 3D is awesome, but the Muppets as a whole in that courtyard have not been treated well the last few years. Their gift shop has been closed for ever. I'm pretty sure I've been in that gift shop once when I was 11, and it's been closed since then.
Yeah, that checks out.
And so and then they turned Pizza Planet into Pizza Rizzo, which is it's just the same restaurant, and it's a great restaurant, but it's, I feel like we're missing the point a little bit, where it's yeah, Muppet Vision 3D is awesome, but they're trying to preserve it in some way. That's what they said. Monsters Inc. Land is going to be really awesome, and honestly, the Muppets are going to be treated way better over by Rock and Roller Coaster, and they're gonna have their own actual store, and I wouldn't be surprised if Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy gets scrapped in the near future.
Oh, it's gone
that
already.
Could be something else. Is it gone?
Yeah, they're changing it out for a villain show.
Oh,
they're putting that
honestly,
there, which I will loop
that's
back
way
around to
better.
that in a second.
That's way better. And so it's sad and it's heartbreaking because I love the Muppets and I love Aerosmith, but also this is probably the next best move that they could make, even though it's a hard decision.
Yeah. No, you're right. I have so many thoughts. Because as someone who grew up there, Muppet Vision and Rock and Roller Coaster are both these integral parts of my childhood, and I didn't realize how much until this last trip, how much Muppet Vision impacted my sense of humor with when Kermit's well, we invited all of the top scientists in the world to come and do this event. Unfortunately, none of them showed up. And then he just keeps moving on. And I'm oh, that's literally how I talk.
Right.
And then Rock and Roller Coaster, dude, I used to be terrified of Rock and Roller Coaster because that launch I thought was going to kill me because I felt like that pressure on your chest. I was oh, I'm going to die.
G-force.
And now I'm actively inhaling into it to push my chest against the force and get that little adrenaline kick, whatever.
Yeah.
So this news to me was a little disheartening because I love both of those things so much, and I think from a creative standpoint, that's where a lot of these problems come in, because I just looked it up. Hollywood Studios is the only park to no longer have an opening day attraction still there.
Yeah.
Magic Kingdom still has plenty, Epcot still has plenty, Animal Kingdom still has plenty. Hollywood Studios is now the only park that is fundamentally different than the day it opened.
Right.
And I understand what you're saying about it has to keep evolving because that's just how Hollywood is.
Right.
But I also don't think you can ascribe Hollywood Studios to it anymore because it's really not. It's not about the movies. It's about it's just movies are in the park
more. It's more about the aesthetic.
Yeah. So
because you also think about how they trashed the Great Movie Ride, which is so that was the point of Hollywood Studios.
Yes, that in tandem with the Backlot Studio Tour and Lights Motors Action, it was supposed to be this kind of combat to Universal of, well, let's show you how we make movies and let's have this whole behind the scenes thing. And then they got rid of all of that for Runaway Railway and Galaxy's Edge, which granted are both great things that they put there.
Right.
But I think what frustrates me is that they're getting rid of this Muppets area and putting Monsters, Inc. there when they have this entire like animation courtyard where the Little Mermaid show is and the Disney Junior show is and the Star Wars launch bay, which has gone virtually untouched for the last 6 years. And you're like, you can't use that space for this?
Right.
Like, you can't just put up massive walls and be like, all right, we're gutting all of this.
I saw my favorite tweet of the week was there was like the article like Muppets will be replacing Rock and Roller Coaster, and then someone replied and they said, I will tear down Star Wars launch bay with my bare hands, because that place is so outdated.
Yeah.
Like, it is genuinely, no one goes there. And I also love it was like, man, if only there was an open, unused theater right next to the Muppet 3D Vision that we could just slide it over to.
Yeah. I think the part that bothers me the most, like, I can make my peace with the Monsters, Inc. stuff if they move Muppet Vision somewhere else. Like, there is that theater right next to Rock and Roller Coaster where Lightning McQueen is and where the Villains show is going to be, that, because the hot theory is that the Villains show is specifically for training cast members, and because they're going to need a lot of face characters for that Villains land at Magic Kingdom. So this show is a way for them to keep cycling in new people and train them on that before they ship them off to the land. So then once you do that and you have those people trained, you can just train them in the land at that point if you need more. So that show building becomes empty again. So you could put Muppet Vision right there, and then you have Muppet Vision right next to the Muppets Rock and Roller Coaster. So you can have those two things together. But the problem is I have absolutely zero faith or confidence in Disney to do anything other than putting it in 2D and slapping it on Disney Plus for 6 months before ripping it off and saying, well, we did something, and now it's gone.
Here's an ethical question. Is this one of those situations where we excuse piracy?
I don't think so. But like in this case, no, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this isn't just like a movie per se.
Right.
Like, it's not.
It's an experience.
Like, it's not just like, oh, we can't find the original film copy of Lord of the Rings that had this one little like frame in it. This is like an experience. It's also the last thing Jim Henson ever worked on before he died.
Which I'm also wondering, does that mean, are they trying to wipe their hands clean of the estate? Like, are they still paying them for Muppet 3D because he worked on it?
I don't know, because I know the Jim Henson Company said like they're having conversations of how to preserve this, and I'm like, guys, there's really easy ways to do this. Like, it does require you doing a little bit more work than you want to. Like, and that's what it boils down to. Is like, that's why they're putting Monsters, Inc. in the Muppets Courtyard, because they don't have to build a ton of new buildings. They can just rehash and reuse the buildings that are already there. So from a financial and construction standpoint, it's like, well, you know, saves us time. It's going to make the fans angry, but what do we care? Like,
the other thing that I've been thinking about is we've been complaining so much, like, oh, Disney's just remaking stuff. They're just redoing all their old stuff. It's all just the stuff from my childhood. And so, like, in a way, we need to let them switch Disney World around for the next generation. Because, like, who's to say that Monsters, Inc. isn't my kid's favorite ride? And they're just like, that's their key point. That's their nostalgic point.
No, I see what you're saying. But also, that's a dangerous attitude to have, because that's how you
change everything.
That's how you end up losing the Rivers of America and the Liberty Square Riverboat and Splash Mountain, and like I think a lot of the conversation I garnered from like the Disney fans on Twitter is Splash Mountain really was the first thing. Like when they saw that was okay,
it was a slope,
and people made their peace with that.
Slippery slope.
Everything's open. Everything, like, no attraction is now sacred and untouched. Because if they're gonna desecrate Jim Henson's final work, what are they going to do to Walt Disney's final thing? Like, are we guaranteed to keep Carousel of Progress for another 50 years? Are we guaranteed to keep Haunted Mansion for another 50 years? Like, all of these things that these great creative people worked on that are very timeless and, like, yeah, Muppet Vision needs a little 3D help, but you did it for PhilharMagic, so just, like...
Right.
It just takes
Just
a
help
little
'em.
work, so give it a little help. You don't
Yeah.
have to gut the whole thing. So...
Yeah.
That's my bigger issue. I'm not against the parks innovating and changing, because if they
Right.
didn't, we wouldn't have stuff like Guardians of the Galaxy, Galaxy's Edge, like Mickey and
Right.
Minnie's Runaway Railway, which is a great ride. Like you have to have that innovation, but you also have to understand that there are certain parts of the parks that just shouldn't be touched. And
There's
like,
certain parts that just like hold the identity of the park way more than others.
yeah, like,
And I think I would argue that like Muppets is probably one of the last pieces of the Hollywood Studios original identity. We've been saying we're like, the second they touch the Tower of Terror in Florida,
that's it.
is when we're done. It's over. Like,
That's it.
because if they like try to make it like a Guardians thing or whatever, like Disneyland, it's over. Hollywood Studios is cooked.
Because
Like,
here's
it's
the
over.
thing. At this point, the only two things, or I guess the only thing now that still tethers Hollywood Studios to any form of MGM Studios is Tower of Terror. That's it. Everything else will
Yep.
have fundamentally changed in some way, shape, or form. Star Tours is not the same as when it opened. They don't have the big hat in the middle. The Chinese Theater is something different. Muppets is gone. The Backlot's gone. Galaxy's Edge is there. Toy Story Land is there. Like, they've changed every other aspect of this park. So now, for Tower of Terror to be the only thing, which it seems like they're actively trying to change that because they're trying to do a Tower of Terror movie. So I think they're trying to get away from the Twilight Zone aspect of it. Give it another 5 years, that ride's not
What's
going to
the
exist
point?
anymore
What's the point?
in the state that it does.
Yeah.
And it's just such a frustrating conversation because while we were there, we did the Liberty Square Riverboat. And this is tangentially related because they also said they're getting rid of that. And they're like concrete slabbing over that entire thing and putting a like Cars Land, and that's like part of where the Villains Land is going to
Right.
go, which apparently there may be some legislation in the Florida government that says they can't get rid of all of that ecological stuff and not
Which is so
replace it
fair.
somewhere else. I also don't know. It rains so much in Florida. I don't know how they think they're going to get the proper drainage and runoff for that.
No.
But okay.
It's also going to feel so... Anyway, that's a whole thing.
So yeah, no, while I was there, I was looking at it, and like we would walk next to the river and see the boat go, and like... I don't understand why you'd get rid of that. And everyone
so
everyone
different.
online is like, well, it doesn't drive a lot of foot traffic, and like da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, that's not what this is about, though. Like,
Yeah.
if you turn it into a solely numbers thing, like, yes, a Villains Land and a Villains Coaster and 2 more Cars rides are surely going to bring in a lot more people, but at what point have you lost
what
the heart
cost?
and the soul of what the park used to be? Because
Yeah.
it's not about foot traffic. It's not about how much money you make. It's about providing a good experience. And that is emblematic of what the Walt Disney Company is today. Because it is no
Booyah.
longer about providing that good experience for you. It's about what can we do that will make us and the investors the most money.
Which connects to Moana 2.